everyone, and welcome to my Christmas dress video. After months of making understructure, drafting, and sewing mock-ups, it's finally time to start on the actual dress. I decided to be thrifty and line the whole dress with an old pair of curtains I had on hand. The outer fabric is this lovely black cotton poly blend that was gifted to me by my grandma. So all in all, it was a rather cheap dress to make. I started cutting out all the pieces I drafted in my previous video, making sure to account for all the panels and their linings on both sides of the skirt and the bodice. This may or may not have required a diagram or two in order to keep things straight. Word of advice, if you try this for yourself, keep things organized and labeled. I barely had enough lining fabric to go around, so my last skirt panel had to be pieced together. Next, it's time for the basting. Basting stitches are long crisscrossing stitches that hold the lining and outer fabric together as you sew. I basted all my skirt panels and bodice pieces, working from the inside out to avoid wrinkles. Okay, so we have a bit of a predicament here. So this is the piece that I pieced into this lining bit, and I regret doing it like this, and here is why. This is the straight grain here, along that edge. This is on the bias, this seam, which means that it will stretch, which means that I have to hang this up for several days to get the stretch out of it. So I've got a little pant hanger up here, and I'm just gonna hang this up for a couple of days, which means we're a couple of days without work, which, well, not entirely. I have work I can do on the bodice, but we can't work on the skirt for a couple of days. So, yes, don't make your piecings on the bias if you can help it. I could have helped it. So, yes, lesson learned. Meanwhile, while that skirt panel hangs, I pleated up the bottom edge of my bodice and sewed everything into place. I also attached the corresponding bodice panels, creating right and left halves. Okie dokie, here is what we're looking at. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm struggling with this. This is not how I wanted it to turn out. This is not how I envisioned it. But I think I've got it to a point now where there's about like 200 to 300 pins in here, and it's looking rough, but I think we're gonna put some basting stitches in. This came down an awful lot lower than I thought it was gonna be. You can see on my actual drawing here, I had put this little like fluffy, maybe like ruffly chiffon thingy right there at the center front. So I need to figure out how to put that in the bodice, but I think at this point in time, I'm just going to tackle these pleats down with basting stitches from the wrong side. You'll see it on the lining, but it is what it is. And yeah, that's what we're looking at now. Then I assembled my placket and my pocket because yes, I'm putting in a nice roomy pocket. Next comes the long process of seaming together the skirt panels, making sure that I started at the waist and so did the hem so I wouldn't get any weird bubbles. The skirt gets a ton of pleats at the center back, and all those get machine basted into place before I can put on the waistband. I also attached my placket and my pocket before I hung the whole skirt up to make sure any stretch in the seams, particularly the center back where both sides are on the bias, would stretch out. I bound the bottom edge of my bodice in some bias tape to neaten it up, and hemmed the neckline and the arm size. So, I've made a mistake, and a rather big mistake. A rather amateur mistake. I feel really stupid. So you know how when you make your pleats, you're supposed to try it on to make sure the pleats fit your waist? I didn't do that, and now this is too small. So now I've got to pick apart the waistband, and I think there's one pleat here above the pocket. I could take a pleat out, like here's the placket, and then here's the end of the skirt. So I could take a pleat out right here, and that would be easiest. I'd have to unpick the least amount of my waistband. But I'm looking at this, and there's a pleat over the pocket here, and it just kind of makes the pocket look really bulky. So I'm debating taking that pleat out, which means I need to pick out my waistband from here to here between my two fingers. It's not much, but it's like I just did that, and it sets me back. So I'm gonna pick this apart and resew without that pleat above my pocket, so it'll fit me. So I'm sitting here editing, and there is no footage of me doing this waistband at all, either before I made the mistake or after. I thought I remembered filming something for it, but obviously I didn't, or I accidentally deleted it, so you'll just have to use your imagination. Sorry. We're getting close to the end here, so that means that there are a lot of hooks and eyes to sew on. There are the regular ones, like at the center back of the skirt, and at the corners of the bodice, so it can close, sort of like a wrap dress. Then there are the 4 hooks and eyes between the skirt and the bodice, which hold them together and prevent weird gaping under the Swiss waist I'm planning to wear. We're almost done, but all of the skirt and bodice seams have to be felled down to prevent fraying, and the bottom of the skirt has to be evened up before the hem can be sewn. The last thing to do is pull out my basting stitches and trim any loose threads, and then we're done.